Action. Shalom. Welcome to another edition of GMS Journeys. And pretty much today we just gonna hit a few various things, touch on the prophecy. And one of the main things that they're pushing in the news media is the thing with Trayvon Martin. Right. So with that, matter of fact, hold the scripture I told you out, Ezekiel 25 and 12. And pretty much, basically, the so-called white man showing you that he doesn't give two shits about you niggas, man. He don't give two shits about you niggas. They gonna keep killing you niggas. But guess what? The Most High is gonna put that spirit on Israel, where they gonna actually rise up and take Esau down.
That's Genesis 49. Get that.
Yeah. Yep. Matter of fact, get that one first. Then get the one in Ezekiel. Because pretty much you niggas out there, man, y'all just fucking sleep, man. You in a deep space sleep. So that's why you have a lot of you niggas that get gunned down, like Trayvon Martin. First of all, the nigga was a grimy ass nigga anyway. It wasn't like he was a outstanding citizen. It's not like he knew the Most High. He didn't know the truth. He didn't know who the hell he was, right? Yep. But Esau doesn't give a fuck about you anyway. Esau will gun your ass down, man. They don't care about you niggas, man. You see? You niggas, you gotta get it out your mind that the devil is your friend. That's why they keep, and they're fucking you on all levels, man. They sitting there, they might put some of you up in office, and guess what? They set you up. Most of them pigs that been getting caught the past year or two between New York and Jersey and Philadelphia, the so-called crooked cops that's been getting caught is was niggas or spics. Yep. Majority of them. As if to say the so-called white men, white cops are honest cops. They're all a bunch of Officer Hoyts, which is all bullshit. All right, but go ahead, I'll read that in Genesis.
Okay. In Genesis chapter 49, and I'll start at 9. It says, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
Right, the scripture said Judah is a lion's whelp, but from the prey, my son, thou art gone up, because Judah used to be roused up, and they used to be ready to take on the so-called white man on any front. And it's really going back, maybe 40 years or more. Going back into the 60s. The 60s was a real turbulent time in American history and American culture. And a lot of Judites was rising up. And as a result of Judah rising up and Judah getting certain rights, Ephraim and other tribes, Issachar was able to come up in that and get a little part of that too. But Judah had to rise up, and they were the ones in the forefront.
Yeah, because everything back then, the whole vibration back then was more militant. You have more Jakes, Judah, and the other tribes. They were growing their hair. They had beards back then. Afros, beards. They were talking about black power, Latino power. You had GAD, they had their movements, the AIM movements. So they always, back then, they had, they were more militant. They didn't have the truth back then. That's why ultimately it all fell apart and it was set up, the organizations. But the whole point is, the whole spirit was different back then. Back then, you had the movies where you had Judah was looking good, man.
Yeah.
Negroes was kicking crackers' asses, even though some of them was guineas. They was kicking crackers' asses in these movies, man. Blaxploitation, Fred Williamson, and so forth and so on. Jake started feeling good about themselves,
That's right.
Jim Brown and all them guys coming up. Jake, superstars, athletes and everything, started to excel back then, But then what happened? Esau put a stop to that shit, man.
And the way that Esau did it, numerous movies, but one movie that shows you in a roundabout way, the movie with Frank Lucas, I forget the name of it, American Gangster. The way that they shut down Jake rising up in the hood and Issachar and Ephraim and all the other tribes, drugs. Because heroin, which they had different names for it, dope. It was known as dope. They called it dope. Some had nicknames for it, like his nickname was Blue Magic. Some called it the Big Bad Boy, the Big Bad, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, they had all kind of names.
Had all kind of different names for it. And that heroin is what fucked a lot of Jakes up in the 60s and the 70s. The 80s, 70s coming into the 80s is when coke became the thing. But really, the drugs is what did it.
Right, and that's a cruel. That's worse than them holding you down and shooting you, man.
Yeah.
Getting you all fucked up on them drugs, man. Mentally fucking you over.
Slow death.
Step the game up.
Yeah, that's a slow death. And that was all done by design. And now they got documentaries. There was one, they got some of them. They put them on some of the, even some of you know, because you got the hip hop sites or gossip sites, nigga sites, and you got the what do you call them, crackers? They got their sites, the right wingers, militias. You got all different media sites, right? Well, they put them on all these different sites. They put a documentary showing how the FBI, which is the government, right?
Yep.
They set up that whole crack epidemic targeted towards Jake. They bringing the documented proof out now about AIDS, how AIDS was designed. That was another thing they did. They mixed in the midst of what that, like the Elder Tyler Doc said, that dope game.
Oh, but yeah,
they brought the drugs in. They brought the AIDS in too.
Yeah, they brought the drugs in, and then they brought the crack in.
Yeah,
because there's a thing. What is it? I'm trying to think of it. There's a documentary. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It might be it's dealing with Freeway Ricky Ross, and our guys who was up under Freeway Ricky Ross, they pinned the whole thing on Rick Ross. But there was a guy from Central America named Danilo Blandon, and he was a CIA operative who the CIA allowed to bring the drugs in here because that was used to fund the war, the Iran-Contra war. That's why associated with drugs, if they find a dram, which motherfuckers put crack in, the dram is called a crack